try. Sometimes.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Drummergy podcast. I'm your host, Fred Rock Fisher. I'm here with my good friends, Mr. Cliff Miller.
Good morning.
Good, applause. And Mr. Matthew Hartz is back. Yes. And the Drummergy podcast is sponsored by, I feel really clumsy right now. The Drummergy podcast is sponsored by 12th Fret Music, located at 671 South Capitol Boulevard in downtown Boise, Idaho. So thanks to them. Have you been in 12th Fret?
Not the new store. I haven't been down there yet.
Oh, you gotta go.
I have been in 12th Fret at their old location.
Okay. And they have a website, 12thfretmusic.com, as you see scrolling along at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? Have you been to 12th Fret Music yet?
Not at the new location. No.
You got to go check out the
it's really
Wall of
nice.
Marshall.
That's what I've been told. I don't know if you told me that or someone else told me that.
It's pretty impressive. Well, we want to talk right off the top of the show. We have the three of us play together with Cliff in the Cliff Miller. Is it right to say the Cliff Miller Band?
I think it's necessary because
Okay.
I do so many solo shows as well that if they don't have the Cliff Miller Band, then
They don't know.
it helps describe what's going to happen.
Okay. We play with Cliff quite frequently, and we have a show coming up on February 26th at the Sapphire Room.
We do.
Details?
It's one of my favorite shows to do every year.
Me too.
We always bring out a couple new original songs and pull out a lot of stops that we can't do at every show. Like we'll have twin fiddles this year with Matthew Hartz and Kayla Ruggs, and we'll have Lainey Shippey doing some guest vocals on a set. So to me, it's just a show where we really get to prep and showcase a lot of original music and some of the covers that we love and tailor the show to highlighting the band, I think.
Yeah.
So
I
always look forward to it.
It's fun. It's a good time.
And it's a Thursday night, too.
Thursday,
yes.
That's where you're always looking for something to do on a Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is your opportunity.
That's
folks.
right. That's right. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. And I always like to start the show with the goofy holidays. Landon is here. Good morning, Landon. Today is, get ready for this, guys. It's National Chocolate Cake Day.
Oh boy.
I think once a week they have National Chocolate Cake Day.
Or chocolate something.
Chocolate people in business.
Anymore when they have National Chocolate Cake Day, I have a bad morning day the next day. So I try to stay away from the cake day.
Well, we end up playing quite a few wedding receptions where we have cake, but I don't ever remember it being chocolate. It's always some foofy thing.
Yeah, that'd make it look pretty like a wedding dress. So they have to
Right?
they can still make it chocolate though. There's white chocolate.
I think if
I
you
remember
could eat a wedding dress, I would picture what wedding cake tastes like.
What's that?
If I could eat a wedding dress, I think it would taste like cake.
Oh my gosh.
I never get any wedding cake. I'm always
Yeah, you're
I'm always
busy.
running
Good
circles.
thing this is on early in the morning.
Yes. Let's see. It's National Geographic Day.
Ooh,
Oh.
Nat Geo.
Does Geographic magazine even exist anymore?
I think it does.
Yeah. you
And
can
when
still
I
find
see it, I pick it up.
It's
I
still in
remember
print.
salesmen used to come around our house when we were kids selling the National Geographic.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that still happens.
No, I don't think so
it
either.
is.
But I
Trying
look
to find
forward to
warm
when
hands up
kids
there.
are
It's
coming
cold in
around
France.
to sell me chocolate bars for their school fundraising thing.
Oh yeah.
And I usually buy 20 of it.
The world's best chocolate or whatever those things
Yes,
are called.
that's what it is.
For
World's
$1.
best chocolate. Of course, our kids have your kids had to sell stuff for school yet?
I don't think so.
Like for football or
I don't remember anything they've had to do for a sales fundraiser, but there was someone at my son's basketball game the other day selling those candy bars for different fundraisers.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah. They're still out there.
Did you
Still
buy any?
happening. I did not. I support it, but
Yeah. the marching
like the
band
dark
at the high
chocolate.
school was always selling candy bars for some kind of fundraiser thing.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
it's usually for
Marching
band.
specifically.
Yeah,
now
who's band?
I'm remembering back to
That's probably the last ones I bought was from your boys.
Yeah.
How long ago has that been? It was when Christian was still in high school.
well,
I
I think Ian probably sold some too. But yeah,
Yeah.
Christian definitely did. And I think Christian also sold them for Armada.
they're delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
There was a meme on Facebook a couple years ago that said, "Unless your kid is selling drums, I'm not interested."
That'd be a heck of a
I said
fundraiser.
drums. All right, well, let's get into. So I had Cliff on the show almost exactly a year ago. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
been- time flies.
Yeah.
Gee,
Yeah,
I remember
it doesn't
being
feel
cold that
long.
day too, though. So
Were you?
Yeah,
Are you cold all
it's
the
always
time?
in the winter. I'm cold. I've been
Cliff's
told.
cold over there. you
I've
have
been
been told
told.
that you're cold. And then Matt, you were here about 2 months ago, I think.
right now. I had caught something to Cliff on here, or maybe it was like a little clip from when you're talking about, and I thought that
Yeah.
was recently. So that was like a year ago. Huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
So
clip
I've
was
been
from
going
then.
through all my old episodes and editing them and then re-uploading them onto YouTube and grabbing like little short reel clips.
You have got way more time than I got.
Well, I was in a time restraint to get it done. So
Gotcha.
currently episodes 1 through 89 have been re-uploaded to YouTube, and I'm closing that gap from the old stuff to the new stuff and creating reels, and now all the audio is available on Spotify and Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts and like
Very
13
cool.
other. If you're looking for audio podcast stuff now, mine's available on all these different platforms. It's pretty easy to search Drummergy and find it. So Thomas is here.
Oh.
Thomas is one of my students and a frequent visitor here to the show. All right, so my point was going to be this, is that when I had you guys on individually, talk more about your career stuff. So I figured let's get into stuff that maybe involves the three of us a little bit more and see where
like
that
Mavericks.
goes.
Adventures first.
Mavericks.
rest stops.
Oh, well, that's a good spot to start, Matt. Every band trip we go on starts at Maverick gas station.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, especially when we all load up here and we
Yeah.
go down
Adventures first
Cole
stop.
and that to get that first stop. Yeah, I mean
Get
that.
some Detroit style pizza.
I think it's kind of it's a default thing for Mr. Cliff. I think the Maverick seems like wherever we are, we'll generally stop into a Maverick on our way out of town.
It's easy
Yeah.
to pull a trailer in there.
There we
That's
go.
true. Yeah,
and
it's
then you
big.
happen to have the convenience of
Just Detroit-style
Detroit-style
pizza.
And then I
That's
find
another.
myself just wandering. Like that's really magnifies my indecision making.
it's how we get our steps in.
It
It
is.
is.
I always end up with a bag of peanuts with them, like a trail mix thing, and coffee. And
I make only healthy choices. Everything.
And I end up with $28 worth of stuff that's no better than what I got from the Wendy's for $28 the night before.
yeah.
I make the worst decisions of my life when we're on the road.
I know.
And we're on the road with you guys specifically.
Well, I'm always taunting you as well, because it'd be the late night after gig thing. Like, Matt, let's eat
Yeah.
Let's go down to the buffet.
an absurd amount of food.
Yeah. Well, and after our Elko trip a few years ago at the beginning of COVID, where you actually you conned me into that the first night, and listen, folks, that turned out to be a bad night.
Hit the video poker.
Yeah, well, no, and just sitting there, we ordered our food after we played. So what is it, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning or
done.
something like that?
Ouch.
Yeah, and then Fred and I sit down and hey, let's get breakfast. It was Fred's suggestion. I said,
Of course.
Of
I like
course.
It's
that.
morning.
I like it. It's good. But we went in there and I think we waited over an hour for our food.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And I had on those boots that I shouldn't have worn down there. My feet were hurting so bad. They even hurt just sitting at that table.
Yeah.
Her thinking about it.
Yeah, and then it was, the food was okay when we got it, but there were some things that went on that first night. I don't know if it was the terrible things that happened the next night, but I swear to God, that day I was never going to do that again. Just a lot of resolve. I mean, and a lot like midday thinking, boy, that was horrible, and I don't ever want to do that again. Yeah. And all it took was you that night. Hey, Matt, you want to go get breakfast again? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the same damn thing happened, with the other things that went on that night, but didn't make eating too nice. But anyway.
Well, if I'm in order for me to trip Matt, all I have to do is throw the breakfast thing out there, because breakfast leads to adventure. Yeah. You just never know what you're going to see at 2 a.m. But
breakfast after the show is, because I haven't been eating much breakfast lately.
Yeah. Well,
breakfast at 2 a.m. is interesting.
Yeah,
every time.
It is. No doubt.
It's going to do stuff to your blood sugar, and you'll have trouble sleeping too. So.
Oh, for real.
I think
that's why you go hit the video poker afterwards. If you can't sleep, go drop
video
20 in the...
just make the worst.
20.
Make the
20,
night get worse.
120. 220.
Lose all your wages and
go to Elko and
keep hitting that button.
Rick Oliver's here. Good morning, Rick.
How's it going, Rick?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got
over here. I've been
stopping by.
I've been looking on the wrong side of the screen. Where's Fred seeing this? It's just right to the right.
Oh yeah. So I've got some, I think some decent questions here. We're just going to dive right in. I'm going to throw these questions out, and you guys can. What are you're peeking, Matt?
No, I'm just looking. Kind of like we're going to.
It's a duel.
Yeah. I'm going to throw these questions out, and then the three of us can peck at it and see what comes. It's not directed at any one person. Are you ready to play this game?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a referee right here. Okay. What's the last musical moment that surprised you?
Do you mean
I was surprised how many lyrics I forgot the other night.
Okay. I was going to say the look on Cliff's face the other night. That's
what are the words?
I don't know what happened. That was pretty surprising. I've never had my brain exit the show. That playing was fine, but I've never lost that many words in one go.
Well, when we talked about that on the phone the other day, you said it was just like you found yourself forgetting a couple lyrics here and there, and then thinking about that and thinking about the next one. Just
the best gigs are where you're just kind of in the moment and it's all this happening. And once I tripped up on one song, it was like I was trying to think a verse ahead every single song. To my own songs. I wrote the songs.
Yeah.
Pen to paper at some point. And I'd have the right syllables, the right thoughts, but they were just kind of it worked.
It did.
Boy, I think it was fine out front, but up here it was chaos, man.
Yeah.
What is happening?
I have those moments every once in a while too. If I like trip on a drum part and then I'm like,
you were probably looking for something more interesting than the downfall of Cliff's mind. No, that was the most surprising.
That's a good start, though. Do you have anything to add to that, there, Matt?
You triggered something there, and I mean, if I were to go down every, thinking of all the surprising things that happened, and let alone the last one, it's a tough one because every show that we play or any show that I play with anybody, there's always something that happens that would be notable if you wrote it down. But I mean, if I want to pick out something that really stands out, and I'm not going to name names here, but I was having a rehearsal at my studio with a jazz band I play with here in town, and we were going along, and one of the musicians, the guitar player, must not have liked what he did, I think was the deal. But I've got kind of a small place, and he had a really nice guitar, but he, all of a sudden things we were playing along and he quit playing. And the next thing you know, part of his guitar was in part of my ceiling and the rest of it was smashed on the ground. It was a really nice Ibanez hollow body jazz guitar.
No.
Hopefully you were filming.
That was really surprising. That surprised me.
That would
if I had
be
one,
memorable.
well, that's strange. That never happens, So
And at your studio.
at my and with a lot of my guitars hanging around, and so my first thing went into self-preservation mode. Is like, okay, how do I get this guy out of here so it doesn't ruin my guitars?
Yeah.
We had this happen at the show way back in the day. I was doing sound for the show, and a lot of a local show where we were kind of the headliner, and there was 3 bands, and about 20 minutes into the first band set, the bartender comes out and he's like, hey, you got to get this guy under control, and you guys got to start earlier. And I go in, and the guy's guitar kept going out of tune, and he's playing. It's like 8:30 at a bar, so it's not a huge crowd yet, and he just smashed his guitar into pieces on the stage.
Oh, what?
And my thought was like, at least get that on film. You could use it for a music video or something. But no, he was just mad at the guitar. Just smashed it to pieces, and that was surprising. So I had one of those moments too. But
Wow.
I'm not.
How about you, Fred?
Well, it surprised me that you couldn't remember lyrics.
At least it was surprising. That's good.
Yeah. Not like, here we go again.
Well, the last musical moment that surprised me, I can't really think of anything specific off the top of my head.
Oh, you wrote the question and you can't answer it?
Well, the question
He's
was
hoping we
for
fill more
these
time.
guys.
Oh, okay.
What feels heavier or lighter about music today?
From a philosophical standpoint,
Yeah.
my amps are lighter than they used to be.
That's
Amps have gone down.
God, yeah, man. They're not as nice as they used to. My amps aren't as good as they used to be,
But they're still like 20 pounds.
I can carry them,
Yeah. They made trash lighter? Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
right, exactly. Actually, that little Mustang that I've got that I play with us and a lot of other people, that's now that I figured out how to use it, it's probably one of the best little fiddle amps that I've had.
I love that amp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say the pressure that I have on myself feels lighter than it did when I was a younger musician. Just because I think repetition, like you do it a lot, and then it becomes a little more second nature. And even when the bad things happen, you've seen it. Like you've probably, I mean, you're always coming across something new. We could fill
Every
hours
day.
with the new stuff, but as far as back when I was first starting out, maybe we had an all original band that was only doing a handful of shows a year. Every show felt like super heavy, and like maybe this is the break, or maybe this is, if we screw this up, we might not get another one. And after a while, it's like, okay, I'm going to have a chance to either, this was a great gig and I'm probably going to have a slump, or this was a slump gig and I'm going to have a chance to redeem myself. So I would say that pressure feels significantly lighter than it did when I was younger.
So the younger Cliff felt like there was more at stake with every show. Like you had to.
It just had to be perfect, which was never I was never in the moment of the show because I was always thinking about what's this going to mean tomorrow.
Yeah.
When you came and told me, Fred, about the Beach Boy tribute band playing over there, I had already seen where they were playing there, but I got to thinking about, God, I remember back in the day when I had, and that was 20 years ago now, 20 or maybe a little bit longer than that. But I remember, like, even if it would have been a builders convention show at I would have just been like, so we're, how are things going to come off, and everything like that, when it's really, it's not, there's not that much gravity to it. I think it's great that when we're younger, we do have we want everything to go right and everything, but it just doesn't, or those types of gigs. Every once in a while they can turn into things that can propel us forward, but most of the time we're doing jobs.
Yeah.
And
I think it feels lighter partly just playing with, when you're younger, everybody's fresh. So everybody's, I don't want to say prime for mistakes, because I've always played with a lot of really great musicians. But as I've gotten older and played with, like the other night when I was struggling with the lyrics, it was pretty awesome knowing that, like, I got a great band around me. So, like, Matt can tell, and I'm eyeballing him like, hey, solo's going 4 bars longer, buddy. I'm still thinking, and Matt just dived in. So I think that.
Well, you know what else? I was ready. I could tell you were struggling with. I didn't know how Country Roads was going to go because I saw you go, okay, wait a second. Before we started, you did that. And so, like, I was ready to ghost your lead on any of those where I knew what the words were and you didn't, right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, not that happens very often, but I mean, that's where I get, when I see a band member struggling with something or just having one of those, you know, it's kind of a glitchy moment, right? It's that, how can I step in here and make things more solid, you know, and it would, you know, just do something, and, you know, it doesn't have to be in an overt way. It can be very subtle, but it's like, okay, so we got one band member that's having some issue with this. How can I help strengthen that right now? Or
and the show still goes great, and I think that's the advantage of playing with experienced players that have.
Because with Mr. Fred on the drums, you don't have to worry about any of it. Really, he's going to keep the structure and all that stuff.
Until that fails. But I think that's both of you really made some clear points. Like when you're younger, you're putting all your chips in that one thing, and everything's, like you said, there's so much weight to that moment, and there's always going to be little mistakes that happen, and things that are out of your control that happen, and things that are going to affect the show, good or bad. It's like, once you do so many, like what you always say, I've played a lot of shows, and this is one of them. We're just adding this to the list.
Well, what I was just like I was sharing with you, I guess it was.
That's not to say that none of those shows are important.
Right. But like that big real estate thing I was telling you that the Wilson Project played many years ago. It was the biggest gig one of the biggest gigs we ever got, maybe the biggest paying one. And so there's a lot of prep that went into that, and my expectations for that were like, you know, we need to be on our point. This is going to be an opportunity. And then we get there, and they've already had their big corporate party, and everybody leaves before we even really get started, you know? And so all this preparation that I've done with the band and everything, all of a sudden, you know, you know, but it was great to do that preparation because it was there for the next time, or when we did really need it or something. But sometimes you prepare for those things that you really, and then you realize, oh, this wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. You know,
and paid rehearsal.
Yeah, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be. Like your expectations being really high for something, and then, you know, it could be any number of things that make it go, or to exceed your expectations. Sometimes you just never know, and I feel like, not just with you guys, but most shows that I play, we're already pretty good friends from the get-go. And so you're going to play the show. And to me, that's the work part of it is playing. But the cherry on top of all that is hanging out with my friends and playing music. And then all the experiences surrounding it, the late night breakfasts and I just think your attitude going into a gig is so important to the success of that gig. Because if you show up and go, we shouldn't be here, like this is so, and we've had our share of weird wedding things and great wedding things, and just
you never know, you never know, and it's, I mean, we're probably regurgitating this too much, but I mean, it's a great topic because it's just, you don't ever know what to expect. You cannot, in our jobs doing this type of a thing, you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And the funny ones stick out. Like we're all listening a lot of like
the Juntura.
There's lots of great surprises. I'm like having occasionally play a show where like you don't expect people to necessarily know the originals, and you'll hear people singing along. So, whoa, these songs have made it here before us. So that's pretty awesome. The micro surprises where you'll do some new drum fill and I'll hey, that's cool, or Michaela will throw out a new line and that was cool. Like there's lots of highlights in every single gig, but the funny ones just burn in,
right?
And we laugh about them for years. So
that's my favorite stories are the things that
went wrong,
not wrong, just unexpected. Can you believe this happened? Do you remember when this happened? And that's where that quote comes from. A very famous swing fiddle player down in Texas. His name was Johnny Gimble, but he played with Bob Wills. He played with so many different people, and it was a line that he had at shows with it. We would say, I've played a lot of gigs, and this is one of them. Because there's no way to really describe to people, you know, or whatever. Or then another, okay, I'll quit vomiting at the mouth. But another thing that gets touchy is when a person has put together an event that's really special. Doesn't have to be a wedding or something like that, but and they've hired you to do it, and then it turns out that it didn't turn out anywhere near to what and so then the stress of all that comes through those people, you know, and then you've got that extra dynamic going on. But it could be the neatest gig in the world, and you hear all the plans, you go, oh my God, they're gonna have this, they're gonna blah, 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 and then you get there, just completely different.
Yeah. Exactly. Fisher Price lasagna.
Yeah. Fisher Price and don't give us a stage or whatever, you know. And then we have to. The thing I love about working with Cliff is, as a leader in this group, he's very adaptable and versatile, and the rest of us have been around long enough that we know to do that too, because you're always presented with things that that are, like, for instance, that wedding over, I think that was in Stanley or something like that, and we were set up on the grass on not very even.
Cool.
And so what did we do? We made it work. You know?
And they were a great crowd. It was a fun show.
Yeah, that was a fun show. Yeah.
I think some musicians probably can't get past themselves in those situations, that they show up and it isn't what you thought it was going to be.
They ain't been doing it long enough.
Right? Yeah. They're not hungry enough.
Or they haven't done it enough.
Yeah.
If they,
that's true. Yeah. What do you trust each other with musically?
Oh.
I'm sure Matt wouldn't trust me with his instruments because he's seen how I carry my guitar. Well, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I think it's partially that we've all played together so much, and partially that you guys are just really, really experienced, and everyone we play with is. But I trust the songs to come out to the audience in a really professional way. Even, like I said, if I'm stumbling or if I break a string or if my guitar is going out, the songs are going to be great, even with the mishaps in the middle. And I have that full confidence with you guys. I can deal with issues without it derailing anything.
Yeah.
And I've had bands where that wasn't the case, you know, but
some people might be playing and recognize something's going wrong, and then the whole machine comes to a screeching halt rather than just.
And I trust your taste in a big way too. Like I've never got anything out of left field from you guys. I mean, I've gotten things that surprise me, but I've never had it. Your improvisations are always excellent, and so it's always a treat for me to hear. So when we're talking about what line should happen for this or that, it's usually my take is just whatever your judgment is, because I'm going to like it. So, I don't ever feel like I have to try and pigeonhole you guys into a certain sound. It's going to be cool, and it's going to surprise me, and do your thing.
Do you think that's part of playing music for a long time? The experience that you have almost subconsciously just dictates what it's going to be musically appropriate?
Yeah, I think so. I think that with Cliff specifically, you know, everybody that I play with it's a different dynamic, you know. And what I like about is Cliff has always made it clear to me from the beginning on some of the stuff is just like, I like how you don't govern me too much, you know, and to the point of I've never even heard a lot of these really famous covers that we do, you know, like when we were in rehearsal the other day, and Michaela and I got together, and she was showing me the real intro to Long Live Cowgirls, you know, and everything. God damn it, I had no. Excuse me. I had no, because I just haven't listened to it, and I'm not going to listen to some of that stuff, and you know that. I don't really have the time, and not really interested in knowing the exact verbatim arrangements of those things, right? And I like how, you know, I heard for years, and we were playing Little Feathered Indians before I ever even really heard it. Yeah. And I realized how different my intro on it was. And I told you before we went and played a wedding, I said, man, sorry, man, I finally heard that the way it goes. I'll get that. And you said, I kind of always like what you did to it.
Yeah.
And so it was that sort of a thing to where I'm, unless it's a deal like we've got these Sapphire Room shows coming up, and like the little guitar lines that you've composed to put in some of those things, those are things that I think are arrangement ideas that are really important. And I am going to play those things the way that you wrote them. And there's fiddle things too, but I guess just overall what's always been nice about playing with you is you've always trusted me.
Yeah, for sure. It's a huge relief off. It's a weight off my shoulders to just know that I can trust the musicians around me. It's one of those things. Every gig and every songwriting session, everything has a list of things that could be weighing on your mind, and each one you take out of your mind makes you be more present.
Yeah.
And that's I trust you guys to take that weight off my shoulders. That's huge to me, because you guys, I'm an overthinker. So every single thing is like stacking up my nerves a little bit, and each one I can pull off is going to make me have a better night. So
yeah, with you being kind of in control of everything, because it's the Cliff Miller band, right? Or the Cliff Miller brand is what I meant to say, is that, you do all the booking. You're dealing with all of that stuff. You own the PA. So if we have PA, you're delivering that and setting it up. And then on top of it, you've got when we're actually at the gig playing, you're dealing with those people. And a lot of times it's not even the same person who booked you, it's somebody else. And like, you got all this pressure, so to speak, before you even pick up your guitar and sing.
Yeah, right? That's anticlimactic to play after all that.
Yeah. So you've done all of this work up there. It's like, who can you lean on a little bit to relieve some of those things, or not to pester you with unnecessary questions?
It's usually a giant relief when we actually get on stage, because that's where
now you can relax.
Exactly. And that's where all the stuff that we do regularly. The other stuff, the before and after, isn't. I mean, we've seen it all. I think. Well, I shouldn't say we have not seen it all, but we've seen a lot.
Yeah.
And but that stuff still changes a lot. The before and after, and who you're dealing with, and where the venue is, and where the stage is. If you're on grass, or if you're on a trailer, or if you're on a big stage. But once we're up there as a band, that part we've done a lot.
Yeah.
And that's when I can kind of sigh, until I remember that I left my acoustic off the backside of the stage, and I got to say, got to loop this lead for another 16 bars while I tune my guitar and get it on stage.
Through the years, I've had my own bands, not just the Wilson Project, but I had a band, the Matthew Hartz band, for a few years, and or even other projects that I'm responsible for. Yeah. And it's what's led me to not have one of those. I did that for so many years. And like we talked about, I've got a gig where I'm basically the general contractor for the thing. It's workshop and shows down in Reno. And, dealing with a number of different people and a number of different schedules, and just trying to put the whole thing together makes me want to run naked through the woods and not. It's just at my age, I've been there, done that, and I know what that responsibility is, and I also know what my responsibility is when I show up with my violin and my amp at a Cliff Miller show, and I like that a lot better than So people always ask me, how come you don't have your own band anymore? Or whatever. It's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work, and it's to keep all that stuff going. And my hat's always off to you, Cliff, because you do it in a professional way, and you even though we all know you're stressed, you handle it well at the shows.
Yeah. Keeping up my bluff.
I wonder. I don't know if this question may have somewhat been answered just in what we've talked about, but what do we not have to talk about anymore?
Whether or not we're getting Detroit style pizza, we know what's happening. Now, what do we not have to talk about? I don't know, Matt.
Good morning, Suzanne. That's Suzanne, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
says Suzanne.
Yeah. I can't see out of my right eye.
Sorry, I poked him in the eye right before we went on.
No, I'm having surgery next week to get my eye fixed, so then I'll be back to seeing everything. But what do we not have to talk about?
I don't, when especially
Talking about what
yeah,
we
when,
don't have to talk
when
about.
we went to McCall, the four of us.
Yeah,
Besides the three, it was Alf
Yeah,
was with us
yeah.
on that trip too, and we hadn't played together in a long time. I didn't know at that time. I hadn't done the calculation or even figured it out.
Yeah.
But I was once Cliff told me who was going and what we were doing. It's like I didn't have to worry about whether or not I was going to have fun.
Yeah,
I love traveling with you guys, and we always have fun. And that's not the case with every band. We've learned to coexist together pretty dang good, and we've got we travel well together. So I would say that where that's a big issue with a lot of groups still that I play with is dealing with the personal inner dynamics within the groups of people that you're playing with. I mean,
Yeah.
and I feel like that we're all old enough and professional enough in this group to where we just don't have time for that BS.
Yeah.
Really, kind of. I mean, every once in a while, some little things will creep in, but I think we can get clarity pretty quickly and move forward.
Yeah.
I can be the pissiest little guy in the world when something bothers me but I have to remember what we're doing.
Yeah. I'm guilty of poking the bear myself, and then realizing that was dumb. Like, why'd you do that? But yeah, I like you bringing up the McCall gig because it had been, I don't know how long that lineup of the four of us had played together. And that's a lineup I always look forward to being with because everything that happens outside of the actual music is just so much better. I mean, it is.
I like how let's see that we got that one pizza, and then our band is kind of a non-drinking band, or at least me and Alf none at all, and you guys very little. And what do we have, like $100 tab on that thing? And was it you that said, "Hey, let's just get another pizza"? So I kind of I know it was a no-brainer. That worked.
What did Mary say there in her comment? Yeah, don't ruin the gig. Yeah. Don't ruin the gig. I don't know what she means exactly.
Well, that's if you're having a bad day or something like that.
Yeah.
One band member can do a lot to screw up a gig.
Well, and we've had little things come up around shows, but I don't feel like it's ever affected us during performance. Mm-hmm. Whatever, whether it's a hard to deal with planner or a weird stage situation or maybe a sound man that hates us.
Yeah,
because that happens.
Grumpy sound man.
Yeah,
I feel like we're all pretty good at putting on a game face and doing the gig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think our general outlook towards everything is pretty good. And so when some little irritant pops up or some situation pops up that I've already pre-decided in my mind, it's not a big deal.
Mm.
I've already decided that tomorrow's another day and we're here till 11 or whatever the arrangement is. And just like you said, Matt, I played a lot of gigs and this is one of them.
Yeah. But even in certain situations, I got to remember that myself too, because it'd be, it's just, you do got to keep your head, because there's sometimes you can really get in some, here, I want to give a cautionary note to everybody. Always take every wedding gig you can ever get. They're all fantastic, and you never have problems at any of them. No, just that's one of the things I've noticed is because, you know, a wedding, think of how much that means to some of the people that they're doing it, and they hire these ultra meticulous planners that are gonna make sure and do their job and everything, and you're realizing that, you know, you are just doing a job with a bunch of other people doing their jobs. You know,
and we're one piece of maybe a 3-day event with so many moving pieces, but we happen to be the piece that lights are going to be shining on right when everybody's celebrating. They almost all, I mean, the people getting married and their family are always in a great mood, and it's really fun, but it's the moving pieces getting to that stage that, like, you know, they've got a ton on their minds, and we're trying to fit into that. We're trying to make their night easy with a lot of stipulations usually.
Right.
And
very true. Very true. All right. So moving along, what kind of playing impresses you less now?
What kind of playing?
Yeah. I think when I was younger, I would see a certain style of drumming or a certain style of playing that really impressed me. And now as an adult, like that same kind of thing, I'm like, nah, I'm more into just the groove of what's happening.
I think that I've always been blessed, and this is one of my strengths as a musician, to, even when I was a young guy learning to do the fiddle stuff, it was the stuff that wasn't noticed by other people that turned me on. It wasn't the flashy stuff. As a matter of fact, the real technical guys that were really blistering, is almost I could see through their BS. Or is it, you know, that type of technical mastery is impressive, but it's never what I've looked for in musicianship. So a depth to,
so that stuff didn't move you.
No, it didn't. I mean, yeah, you know, I'd see a great lead guitar player or something like that and think of, oh wow, that is, you know. But even real early on, it was like, oh no, I like the soul of that guy's playing a lot more than this guy's, you know. And maybe that my dad's really musical and pointed those things out to me when I was a kid too. Like, you know, so I guess I'm kind of blessed with, I never really was. I've always appreciated technical prowess, but it's never what I've gravitated towards in musicianship, you know. And if I were to tell you my favorite fiddle players, they're not going to be, you know, or anything, you know, guitar players or whatever. It's not going to be the ones that everybody says because of their technical mastery. It's going to be people that, you know, part of, you know, some of them you don't know because you've never heard of them.
Well, I think, I'm assuming anyway, like the general listening audience, when they hear a song, they like that song as a whole, like that body of the work of the song. They're really not, in my opinion, super interested in that chord that he played there.
Well, they don't even know what chord you're playing.
Right. They're not, they don't care how you got to it, you know. They just enjoy the work itself. But it's like, if there's my train of thought starting to derail. That technical mastery of it isn't going to be appreciated, even if it was necessary for the song to exist. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And the one thing there's one of the things that you've kind of fight with the lay people, you know, general audience, not musically educated, is that they generally want to hear things like the record.
Yeah.
You know, so the more that you can play like I don't even know, like when we play Amarillo by Morning, I've been playing that song forever, and not just the leads, but I've been meaning to tell you guys, my proudest line in Amarillo by Morning is in the middle of the verses, and it's not that major 7-chord thing that we do, but it's a steel lick that I've always played on the fiddle. Before you sing those lines right there, and that's my favorite. It's like so me adding those types of elements to a song I'm really familiar with, like that, right? You know, that's going to bring that listener home to this. Now juxtapose that with Little Feathered Indians that I was playing with you for 2 years and no idea how the record was even going, you know. Or anything like that. You know, that probably wasn't, you know, that's where I wasn't familiar with the at all, so I was bringing my own ideas to the table, and so that probably wasn't as satisfying for a lay person. They want to hear that song like they're used to hearing it out on the radio. That fiddle line was a lot simpler than what I was playing, and but it's kind of iconic for the tune. And so now, do I try to play it now that I actually know that it's there? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's something I try and listen for, is like, what is something that catches me, simple or complex, whatever it is, or a cool chord that, whether or not, I don't want to say the average listener, but someone that's not musically trained knows why a certain moment strikes them. If it strikes me, it probably strikes them. And I try and, those are the moments I try and keep true to the song, or even in a song we write. Like, if it struck me when we were writing it, then if it's something that grabbed me from the get-go, then probably try and keep it. But I don't even know where that came from.
I've been saying this now for a few years, especially doing this show, is that I've started to absorb myself more into the lyrical content of songs. And it doesn't matter if it's a song that you wrote or a song that we're covering. That now I agree with Matt. My perspective is learn the song how it was recorded. And that's what you start with as your presentation. And then some of that, over the years of playing it, sort of morphs into something else a little bit, because we put our own flavors into it. And sometimes when I go back and listen to the original, I'm like, I forgot that's how that went.
Yeah.
It's just had this slow drift into something else. And part of that is like, I might pick apart some lyrical things that are happening and wondering, like, how can I weight this lyric or this feeling of this song with the drums more? We start putting stops in certain places and different dynamic changes, or a drum fill that might lead into something just a little bit differently than what was recorded. And then your own original songs too have, and I experience this with any original music I play, is like, you write the song and you're excited about that song, and get that song recorded, and then it's out there, is a little bit different than the old days where you'd spend all this time writing music and performing that music. And so that those songs had time to ferment before they were recorded. Sometimes they don't have time to ferment before they get recorded, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so by the time you record them when you're younger, they've been road tested and all of that, and they're super strong. So that's what's impressive to me about playing songs. Like, that's where I go, and it doesn't matter if it's simple or complex.
Right. It's funny you bring that up, the whole words thing. Lyrics have never been, I do write lyrics and stuff to music, but I do it only for the sounds of the syllables on the words. I might have, and so I've never been into stories. Like, people tell me Beach Boy songs I've heard forever, and they'll say that song's about this, and I go, wow. Or I've always loved June, but Cliff's song June, but it takes me for a while, and that finally, oh wow, sleeping on a trampoline, looking up at the stars. We've been playing it for 3 or 4 years, and it's not because I don't, but my thing as a musician is paying so much attention to the music and what's going on with it. I never hear lyrics.
Yeah.
Never ever. And when somebody totally says that's a great song, they might be talking about a 2-chord song, a 2-chord song that has a story that they just love in it. Mm-hmm. But I've never heard the story.
Yeah.
I said, how's that a good song? It's got 2 chords in it.
Yeah. I think even if you don't know the lyrics, you can hear the inflections and how something's being, like, because you mentioned syllables, like you hear the syllables.
Well, if I have a melody written exactly, I'm a control freak, and I've had lyricists come in and they don't understand that. They don't understand. They'll write this poem over the top of that. I said, well, it doesn't fit the cadence of my melody at all. And they go, well, what do you mean? Can't you just adjust it? No, that melody has got to stay that way. So you got to pick a different word.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Well, that pushes lyricists to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, or just do things a little bit differently than what they're used to. It's like with me, when I have to do it, a lot of times lyrics will get written. I probably told you this, guys, but for my last pop album, I mean, some of those songs were missing complete verses until the night before I had to record the vocal, because it just didn't mean that much to me.
Yeah.
Right. And I knew the general story of it. And then I'd have to sit down and go, okay, I got to write a verse that's going to fit the general thing of this story. But most important thing is that the damn words got to line up with the cadence of the melody, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm sitting there trying to work all that out, but it will literally be on these. I'll have songs written for years and won't have all the words written to them, because to me, that melody and that chord progression and everything like that, that's what I've studied, and that's what I've done all my life. And I think that the story is definitely important. And obviously it's very important, because I think most people resonate with music in that way, and I don't.
It's something I won't record. There are songs that we perform where the story's maybe not completed, but I like the general train of thought that we're going with, and we might play it live for a long time. But at this point, I don't really record lyrics until I'm sold on their meaning.
Yeah.
Partially because I look back at some of my earlier bands where I really like the songs. For one, I feel like I always say too many words in songs. But if you listen to my first songs that I played with my first band, they were really wordy. And we were so anxious to just have music out there, which is great. That's where you start. But when I listen back to some of the stories, I'm like, that was just kind of gibberish, and now it's permanent.
That's there
gotta
forever.
live with that. Yeah.
Let's
I like this. What's your favorite Cliff song to play? Man, I have a ton of, and this was, who was that? That was Mary.
And James is here. Good morning, James. We'll come back to the song thing. And so Susan says, I've got a wedding in April. You can
with a laughy face.
With a laughing face, yeah. And Thomas, you might write a song a certain way and then play it for years and slowly change. I'm really struggling to read this. Can you guys
change
read it?
certain parts of it because you think it sounds better a different way from what I'm understanding?
Yeah, exactly. So, what's your favorite Cliff Miller song, Matt?
You know what? I have a ton of favorites. From the very first time I heard Cliff's music before I was playing with him, and that's been a long time now. But the very first batch of songs when he started off on the whole solo thing with, Best Part of This Town, Walking Nervous Habit, Reckoning, Ground Blind. Those are all great tunes. And I do love the stories in those songs. But what got me about them was the musical. I've told you this before, is that you came to the country world via, punk rock, alternative rock, right? And so you're writing changes into these things. That's what hit me immediately. Is like, oh, these are like new country tunes, but they've got punk changes in them, And so that's where it really that's what got me. And so it was that approach. Is oh, this is cool. This is different. This isn't going to be getting up and playing top 40 country all night long with an anonymous band. This is going to be something that especially on the original stuff is going to have a lot of, it really appealed to me from the get-go. But so I don't have an absolute favorite. I mean, June, you and I have talked about, that's phenomenal. Hesitated. You write in so many different styles, it's and the lyrics are amazing. When I do finally get around to take, they're very artful and very good. So I guess I don't really have a favorite. I just have a lot of Cliff songs that I love to play. And I'm always, to be honest, I always like playing the originals better than the covers.
Same.
And that's another thing too, is when we talk about the covers, and how, Fred was talking about, well, I'll start with the original and then I'll go, well, I don't even start with the original. I just listen to you guys play it once and listen to the chord structure and then just start playing along and making it my own. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think, to that point, your experience and your knowledge and talent for the instrument is the song's going to guide all of that pretty effortlessly. Right. And it makes me think of like Drummeo's been doing this thing for a while, where they'll have a famous drummer come in or a well-known drummer, and and they'll do like a song breakdown of something they played on, and then they present them with something they've never heard before to come up with a drum part to.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, that drummer that they have in there is going to play something really, really similar to what the original drummer recorded,
Mm-hmm.
because the song just dictates where that stuff's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really interesting. And that allows you to have, I don't know if you want to call that freedom or not, or
yeah, when a song starts that I don't know, which is sometimes 80% of any show that I'm playing, really, literally, as I just get so tuned in. What key are we in right now? What's the feel of this thing? Don't get in the way of the vocal. Try to stay out. It goes into just, my mind is so direct in going to those places, and it just like I can't help it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It just goes right to ultra concentration mode, and some shows can be different when there's things getting in the way of concentration, but sometimes it's better than others. But I think that's the thing, is just like, you just get so, and yes, the tools that I have gained over the years as a musician, playing in so many different arrangements and so many different instruments and everything like that, those are the tools that I've had to develop. I have to be able to plop myself into any situation and just what's happening and go.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think the same thing you're describing is what gets a crowd into. I'm thinking of shows where, like, to me, music is like a moving, kind of living thing.
Yeah.
You're talking about feeling the song. You can feel, the key, you can kind of hone in on the feeling of it. And a lot of times, a great show, you got people up in front of you and they're kind of feeling the same thing. And sometimes you'll throw out some new highlight that just captures, you can almost capture what the audience is getting ready for. And then you fulfill that expectation, and that's a heck of a moment. And I think that comes with feeling like playing by feel like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah. I don't have that much confidence in myself to, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to use the word winging it necessarily. I personally like to be really super prepared. So do you think that, and at the risk of trying to shine the light on myself, but you can show up and play fiddle over the top of a musical thing that's pretty established already?
Oh yeah,
versus
having to do it all the time.
Versus if I didn't know it was happening and you didn't know it was happening, the bass player didn't know it was happening, but like only Cliff would be the one that really knew what the song was doing.
It depends. I mean, it's different. Like I say, most gigs I have hardly any rehearsal for, and you just show up and you just play.
Yeah.
And so, and if I'm playing with a bunch of really seasoned musicians,
there's a lot less pressure.
Oh, no, it just always goes just like water. Like, we played everything. We played it 800 times and we never played it.
Yeah.
But if it is, especially in a situation like this, where let's say it's a new original song and you guys have gone over it quite a bit and know it real well, yes, then you're being solid in it is going to help me see the thing a lot better.
Yeah, you can see the picture.
Yeah,
so.
whereas if you guys are, what's going on?
Everybody's throwing paint blindfolded at the wall. It's like, what is that? Yeah. All right. I have more, but I'm picking up a blank sheet of paper. Here we go. What part of the job quietly drains you?
We might have hit it already. I think it's
possibly, yeah.
When you're booking a lot of shows, and it's the booking is a big part of it. And there's there's booking and contracts and maybe arranging musicians. I'm lucky that I play with like a slew of great musicians, and so I always have people I can fall back on. We've got 2 or 3 different fiddle players that are willing to play with me, and in each position I have people I can call on. But the scheduling, the paperwork part of it, it's whether it's scheduling a calendar of musicians or scheduling a calendar of gigs, there's just a lot of
Agreed.
to it.
Agreed.
Getting on stage is the fun part.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, that's where you kind of just, we're here. Now we can just do our thing. But you can't get to do your thing unless you do all that prep work.
Yeah.
So that's to me the draining part.
Yeah, exactly. And the show's not draining. And you know what I really like is I like tearing down.
Yeah.
I just like the feeling of that, where it's just like, even though it's still, we got work to do, it's not thinking. It's just winding chords and picking stuff up and trying to do stuff. And it's just a great way to wind down. But what was that dang question again?
What part of the job quietly drains you?
I gotta agree with Cliff, though. It's the scheduling and dealing with trying all of that nightmare stuff. That should be left to professional organizers, man.
Yeah.
Well, I know that all of us live in this world now, and maybe it's, I don't know if it's an age thing or not, but I talked about this with James Lancaster too, is it's, I think it's rare to find people in our age group who are 100% dedicated to just one band. Like I play in multiple things, sometimes all at the same time, and sometimes they're scattered. Like that's a one-off deal, or maybe that's something I do occasionally, or with like Cliff is like a mainstay of something I'm involved with Midline right there in the same seat, so to speak. So I would think like one thing that would be draining is constantly not only juggling your calendar, but everybody else's calendar that you're involved with, like their availability and things like that. That would be the one thing that I just, even like rehearsals.
Yeah.
Like I have scheduled times in the week for rehearsal for Midline and for Cliff Miller. And at a moment's notice, those could be asked to be switched, or somebody can't make it for whatever reason. So I would think scheduling people to be in the band to do a show that's like a big hurdle constantly.
I want to add another one.
Yes.
From this time frame. I hate you're supposed to be so social media here we are on your podcast on Facebook. I know it's necessary, but that is probably one of the most draining things to me, is how much content you're supposed to. Yeah. It's great. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, because back when I was a kid, I missed those days where it was me and my old band sitting in a room. We were writing so much music, and we were rehearsing 3-4 days a week and getting songs out there. Yeah. But then how do you get them to people? We had to pay for studio time, then try and get Hastings to carry our CDs, and then try and convince this world without social media to try and point their ears our direction.
Yeah.
So it's double-edged sword in the fact that now there's so many avenues to get your music out there, but I do like doing the short form content to try and stay relevant. To me is just, I didn't get into this to be an influencer. I don't want to, and I'm not.
It takes a long.
That drains me.
Yeah. For me, like the social media stuff is so necessary. It's a key component to being a full-time musician.
It is.
And also I think musicians have to have multiple streams of revenue available to them, because I think the percentage of people who can just go play music and be financially viable that's probably pretty small percentage. But most everybody I know that's a full-time musician is playing shows, they're teaching, or they're doing something involved with music. Even like working at a music store or something like that. They're doing something in the music. And then so where are all the people? Well, all the people are online. And so that's where you got to get their attention. Now the draining part of that, like what you're saying, is like every single musician is doing that to some degree. So it's who can make the loudest noise in a world full of a lot of noise to get
And a lot of
people's-
senseless noise out there.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
you're talking about a guy like me, I don't even have I live in this world where I see people staring at their phones all the time, and
Right.
a lot of times I don't even know where mine is.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it is for hours. So how am I going to be that guy that's going to be glued to it enough to actually post content? I'm not. That's why I have Adam. There's no way that we would, with what he's doing with some of the social media campaigns to grow the instructional website and the Beach Boys channel and stuff like that, I wouldn't do any of that.
Yeah.
And there's no way. I'm so lucky I've run into him. He's, almost 20 years younger than me and way, way more in tune with that world and
Sure.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't do it. I can't. I'm so averse to the whole thing anyway. I wish I could do it. And I'm at the stage in my career to where I don't have to solicit a lot of these gigs that I get, like going and teaching the workshops and doing the shows that I play. They're just things that I get anyway. So it's not like I have to advertise for the gigs, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So in my perfect world, if I didn't have to advertise for that website and that Beach Boys channel and stuff like that, I'd just rather be off of all of it.
Yeah.
But I'm in a lucky position to be able to do that.
Yeah.
To me, it's like you put so much love and heart into writing songs, and then you have to try and, I guess when you get to the point of trying to make content around that song, you're breaking down something that you committed a lot of your brain to, and now you're breaking it down in a way that whenever I'm trying to do content for a new song, it just doesn't, to me, it starts to dissect something that I loved a little bit.
Yeah.
But I also want people to hear it, so I want to do that part.
I get that too. I've talked about this over the last couple of years, is like the people's attention span. Like, you're lucky if it's 3 seconds of time they give something that you do, let alone listen to a 3-minute song.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, we're all fighting for that attention and trying to be, at least for me, on purpose on what I'm doing and the approach. And like you said, senseless noise. Like, I'm trying not to be senseless in what I'm doing, trying to have a plan.
Yeah, when you look
for
what you're competing against for their attention, sometimes is like, this video has 6 million views. What is that?
Yeah. Let's
We're in that world.
let's check up here real quick. I might need your guys' help.
Rick says best part of my town is one of
It was one of his favorite Cliff Miller songs.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that one, Rick.
Yeah.
And how are you doing, Rick? Haven't seen you in a while.
I do write a lot about growing up in Idaho.
Yes.
What I
Hey,
know.
that's who
Write
else?
what you know.
Yeah, exactly.
James says, I think that's why on a certain level, but you have roadies and do less of the physical work, right? Because he said that load in and load out is like the most draining part of the gig. Scott Alexander, good morning. Help me read that, guys. I can't see
How
out of
did
this
the
eye.
bluegrass kid Matthew get so obsessed with the Beach Boys?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
The Beach Boys were very first with me. As far as it's a very lifelong thing. My parents both my dad had an amazing record collection, and my mom's was too. She had the Beach Boy records, and I was listening to all kinds of stuff and love all the other stuff too. I mean, I don't want anybody to think just because of my love of the Beach Boys I don't love all the other stuff, but it was just something that it was the first music, and specifically side 2 of the Summer Days and Summer Nights album that my mom had from 1965, California Girls, the intro to California Girls. My folks say that I would just obsessively listen to that 28 seconds and then go set the needle down again and again and again. And I remember that. And I remember just, when I was a little kid, I'd close my eyes and listen to that intro to that song, and I'd see fireworks going off from all the different music, the chords being played against that figure and all the different horn accents and everything like that. It was just like, it really touched me very, very deeply, Scott. And it's always stayed with me. It will always be my first music that informs everything. And the main bluegrass stuff came a long time after that. I mean, I didn't start playing the violin till 8, and the fiddle stuff came in about 10. And by that time, I was into Rush and AC/DC and you know, all kinds of, you know, you already gotten into more contemporary stuff than just the Beach Boys, you know, and Kiss.
Yeah.
I was so you know, and then 8 million other bands. But I mean, I remember all of that stuff happening. So it kind of happened, you know, I guess the Beach Boys stuff happened way before the bluegrass stuff.
Okay.
There you go. There's your answer, Scott. There's your answer. Michelle. Talent, love Cliff's songwriting, Gardena, and Matthew's fiddling.
Wow.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, going back to what your favorite Cliff Miller song is, my number one is June. However, Cliff just wrote a new song recently that is trying to push June off of the podium there in the number one spot. But for me, June, well, there's a couple reasons. One, my birthday's in June. The tempo for June is 72, and I was born in 1972. And so that one's really easy to remember what the tempo is. And it's just so slow. The groove of that makes you just sit way back in the recliner. And then your lyrical content, like sleeping on the trampoline and looking up and wondering if UFOs and satellites are staring back at me, like those things that kids wonder about, you know. And I vividly remember not thinking those specific things, but my neighbors, they had a trampoline, and we would sleep on the trampoline just out there, and you know, you'd hope to see a shooting star or whatever. So that song really resonates with me. And then, like Michelle was talking about with Gardena, the mystery of that song is always, as many times as I played it, it always has my curiosity.
Well,
Just for
I remember
reason.
that first time I really heard that line about making pseudo. In
the tub.
Yeah, in the
Turn
tub.
pseudo
Yeah,
into a
I'm like,
film.
wait, God.
I always feel the urge to say it shows like this is not biographical,
Right.
or not autobiographical.
I think I love all 3 of the new ones we've been doing recently, getting ready for the show. But one of the new ones that I really enjoyed, and we played the hell of it down there we were at the Knitting Factory in that smaller room with James that night. It was I know one of the lyrics is it's time to push the past away or
forget yesterday.
Forget yesterday. Yeah. So that's how I know that song's about something like this.
Yeah.
you know, but that's one of your new ones that I really, you know, I love some of the chord changes and hooks that you got in the music on that. We've talked about recently these new ones that you've written that, you know, you've been listening to some different artists and stuff like that. And I've noticed like some similarities between some Foster the People stuff maybe because of that other artist that you've been listening to lately. What's that guy's name?
Joe Carey.
Okay.
Carey. His artist name is Joe, DJO.
Okay, that's yeah. But all of those tunes have nice moments in them, but I Forget Yesterday stands
That's
out.
a fun
one.
Yeah.
That last show that we played at the Knitting Factory upstairs there with James on bass, that was, to me, like just looking back, like a recent shows, that was a magical show.
That was a good, that was.
You know, it's interesting. Like, what do you remember? What night that was? Like a Friday or Saturday, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't a week. It was probably a Friday because I don't remember it being a.
So exactly a week before that, Midline had played. So James and I had been there, and one of the sound engineers was kind of grumpy because I have 6 toms that I use on my drum kit. He's like, "Oh my, you know, I probably have one of the bigger kits that gets used for shows." And then sound guys are patient with me because I always just say, "Well, I'm Fred Fisher," but you know, Jacob wasn't into that so much that night. And then I came walking in the door a week later. He's like, "Oh, there's Mr. 6 Toms." And I'm like, "Well, buddy, I have no toms tonight. kick, snare, hat. That's all I played. And man, we just killed it that
It
night.
was,
It
That was super fun. You
a
talk about
strong
surprises.
show.
Yeah.
That show we got asked to do kind of last minute.
no rehearsal.
No,
with
None.
James.
I think the first time
gig.
James ever played with this,
Yeah.
I called him with, I don't even know how much notice, less than maybe a little over a week, but like, James,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do this, but you can say no if you want, but you can learn 10 songs by next Friday. I'll take this gig, and
Yeah.
yep,
that's-
I'll do it.
And that
Yeah.
was another. You talk about a pro, man. You know,
Oh, yeah.
get showing up, and I'd never played with James before, but I mean, that's it. You know, right away when you're sitting in a nest like that.
Oh yeah,
You know, it just, you know.
nailing all the changes with.
Oh, and
Yeah.
a lot of strength.
Yeah,
lot
that
of
was awesome.
strength.
That was a fun show, really fun show.
Greg says one of my professors was a
Proponent of the 30-second song approach.
yeah. Can you help me read
Yeah.
that stuff? Because
He
I
was
can't.
adamant that no matter how good the song is, the listener is waiting for a particular 30 seconds of it. So make sure that 30 seconds can stand on its own.
Yeah.
That's
Yep. Hello, Seal. Good morning. 22 degrees in LeGrand. Wow. And Jamie Vink, good morning to you, dude. All right. Next question. Are you ready?
Oh yeah.
Buckle your seatbelts.
oh no.
Okay. What advice do musicians repeat that isn't helpful?
What do I usually tell people that does not help them?
Well, I would say, like, what do other musicians tell me that I don't find helpful?
Because I was turning that around on what do I usually tell people that's not helpful or whatever, you know. But being a teacher.
Can you play this song?
I wrote it on a tiny slip of paper. Try and read it from 40 feet away with no light.
Right.
I don't. That's a tough question because I might imagine every little bit of advice has some application. So I'm having a hard time thinking of something that. And I try and take in any advice. I don't necessarily use all advice, but I try and hear it all.
Mhm.
You know.
Usually, to me, it's certain groups of people, certain groups, and there's always a guy that is either giving out. There's one in the situations where I don't like the advice. There's one guy giving out way too much advice.
Yeah.
Thinks that he's got the answer for everything. He
Yeah.
knows the way everything should go and everything. And I'm about ready. Okay, I just shut up. Let me play. You know,
I played a lot of shows,
and this is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple things you can get, like unneeded negativity from people that are like jaded, possibly.
Yeah.
We're all jaded, buddy. Let's get over being jaded. But and then on the other, there is sometimes overly optimistic. This isn't usually from other musicians though, but people that really want to. I don't know what the phrase for this is, but they really want to get involved in a way that doesn't apply to me in any way. Like,
And they
you know
think
what I
they've got an answer for
Yeah,
it.
like, you know what Cliff Miller should be doing with his career? Sometimes that's great advice, but a lot of the times it's just
And you're right. It rarely comes from other musicians.
That's
and
exact-
I'll tell you another thing that I don't like. I mean, a pet peeve is a great band shows up to your party or your wedding or whatever like that, and you spend the whole night conspiring on which songs you can get them to play, or asking to see the set list so you can, it's like, that really bothers me. And it's, I would never think about doing that. But you know what? The difference between me and them is I'm an artist.
Yeah.
And they don't realize what goes into that and how much time you spend on either preparing the set list or working on original songs or whatever like that. And then all they want to hear is Devil Went Down to Georgia or Sweet Home Alabama or, whatever, and so then it's kind of deflating,
Right?
You
Yeah.
know?
I think to kind of go off of what you're saying, like you have this thing, and let me tell you what I think you should do for that. Sometimes it's like where that information's coming from. If it's coming from another musician who never really became successful or doesn't have a career in music, there's always that jadedness attached to it or that caution of failure. Like Well, good luck with doing that because you're going to fail. Like, I hate hearing that over and over. And that might seem funny because coming from me, who's been doing a podcast for 3 years, sharing my advice and my well, I said advice, but I wanted to say something else. What are we talking about?
Expertise.
They're just
experience.
Like they want to give you advice. They want to tell you how you should do things when they're not living it themselves. There's all of the failures that they've had that they drag along into warning you about what you should or shouldn't do. Those people are hard to listen to. But when I get around other musicians who have a career in music like that, that's all they've done, or they've had a pretty long stretch of success in that. When you get around those people, if they tell me something, it's really kind in how they do it, and they never shut you down. They say, if maybe you should consider this thing, which is going to open that door wider for you, or that's going to lead to the next deal. I sound like a really fragmented way of saying that, but
it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think most advice is well-intentioned. Even I don't love the negative advice but I still think it's well-intentioned. It's someone like a cautionary tale.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, one that might really rub me the wrong way, but like I think it's well-intentioned as well. People like, you should write more songs like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, that's not how my songwriting, that's not how my brain works when I write a song. So I'm probably not going to replicate something I already did. I'm probably not going to replicate something someone else is doing. Now, if I'm really super inspired by someone, that's probably going to come out in my writing.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever someone has some like specific A to Z plan about how I should write music, to me, that's like well-intentioned, but it's not applicable to me.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking. There's nobody that could change anything about the music I write because I feel so strongly about it.
Yeah, my brain works.
Yeah.
It's coming out because my brain's
thank you, but
in this direction.
The thing we got to remember, and this applies to all things, is that person that comes up to you and was giving you that advice. You got to remember they're playing the starring role in their own movie.
Yeah,
that's
right.
True, yeah.
Everybody, and it's a way for someone to feel important to feel like that they're contributing or something like that. And so it's like their perspective on that is so much different than an artist that would be taking this and going, okay, I don't know. It's like sometimes I just, especially here recently, where in situations like that will really frustrate me, especially in professional situations where I have to sit there and pay attention. And what I have to do is get myself in the mindset of that person talking to me, to spin it around and think, oh, they're not coming from this anywhere near to what my perspective is on this thing. And they don't even have the capability to have the type of perspective I have on this. And so how can I honor this without letting them know I'm irritated?
Yeah. I think sometimes we make up in our mind what other people think of us, and they might not be thinking that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I can use Midline for an example because that band's been around for so long now, 35 years. Wow. 36 years now. I think me and everybody else in the band are really protective of our songwriting and compositions and recording and all of that when somebody from the outside comes and says, what you should do is this, especially now after 30 some years, I'm like, what does it matter at this point?
Right.
Like, we're happy writing the songs that we're writing, regardless if you think that they hold up or not. And at this point, it's like nobody in the band's going, we're going to make it. We're going to be on a tour bus and we're going to fly on private jets. And like, that way of thinking left a long time ago. So when somebody comes up to me now and says, I got a song you guys should play and I got some lyrics, or I got a better idea for what your band should do, at that point, I'm like, yeah, it's not helpful whatsoever.
One thing I try and keep in mind with advice is that if someone's willing to take the time to come talk to me, then they're probably either care about what I'm doing or they're interested in what I'm doing. Because if they didn't, they just walk out the door.
That's true too.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
And
true.
I think perspective, like, it's usually well-intentioned, even if it's sometimes not the way you need to hear it or whatever. But an example of that would be, like, my dad was a really successful musician when he was younger in his area of music. And when I was in Abrupt Edge trying to do all original music and what eventually turned into a pretty hard rock band, my dad came from a career at that age of, it's like, you need to play some covers and some country music. I'm like, Dad, there's no way Abrupt Edge is playing. But from his perspective, and we're trying to get people to hear our original music, Dad. It's like, well, yeah, but if you can reel them in a little bit, like, let them know what you're capable of, and then they'll hear your originals as well. And from his perspective, it wasn't necessarily what my band was trying to do at that time, but it was advice. And actually, I used it in the future with Cliff Miller Band. So it was great advice from someone who cared about where I was going. And even the person that walks up to you after a bar show or a great show at a big stage, even, like, something popped in their mind in that set where they thought, you know what? I like these guys, and this advice maybe could help the rest of the world know about this band. It's very rare that someone doesn't care and comes to tell you their opinion. It does happen, though.
I think it's sometimes. Well, first of all, did you appreciate that advice more or less from your dad because he was your dad? Like,
that's
because it's dad and he's telling you what to do, I'm really going to put up a wall, or because it was coming from dad, it was easier to hear.
I think I appreciated it equally in both stages. I appreciated it, but I also I knew that's not where that band was trying to go, so I didn't really follow it. And I don't think following that advice would have been the right choice for that band, but it was solid advice.
Oh yeah, especially coming from your own dad.
Yeah.
And someone who you knew had success within the industry, and all that stuff. As I was just, while you were saying that, I was thinking, well, that's where I'd pay attention, even though, like you say, you couldn't go exactly in those directions with that band, but you're going to put a lot more weight on that stuff coming from your dad, who's a musician. I know.
And we did even incorporate it a little bit. Like, Abrupt Edge did, like, we started sneaking in, I don't know if you'd call it a cameo, but we'd sneak in a little piece of a cover that was real familiar in the middle of a song in an artistic way where it fit with our music. And that was kind of from that advice from my dad. Like, yeah, if we can get them, if you can pique their ears with something they're familiar with, then maybe we can bring them back around to originals. But,
Let's see. Mary, can you help read? I'm really
Which one
struggling
are you
today.
on?
Seal,
Thumper the
Greg,
rabbit.
did you read Greg's? If it sounds good, it is.
Yeah,
good?
we read Greg's about the 32nd. Seal says midline is
midline. You guys have your niche.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
Then Corey Hawkins and me had a band called Abrupt Edge, and then we changed the name to
Lights on the Hill.
Oh,
we actually, and no offense to Seal or myself, but I always hated the fact that we named our band that.
Abrupt Edge.
Yeah, it was like on the spur of the moment, and I wished we would have thought about it longer. But we played a show in Portland with a band called The Abrupt Edge. The first time I ever played Portland, we were on the same bill where the two bands had almost identical names.
Oh wow!
It was a real fun show. But
I always liked the name when I first heard it way back in the day. I thought that was a cool name.
Okay.
Who came up with the name then?
My brother and one of his friends were going to start a band, and I wanted to be part of it.
Oh.
And then they learned how to play guitar a little bit. Then they didn't care enough to keep going. And I'm like, well, I'm stealing your band name. Wow.
Okay.
And my brother ended up playing in that band later on.
I loved your brother in Abrupt Edge.
Yeah.
I thought Devon would probably, I don't know if he'd ever watch this, but the two of you together on stage had a lot of performance value to it.
Sure.
Plus just both being really good. And not only that, the two of you singing together.
Yeah, siblings singing together matches up in a way that almost nothing else does.
Has a certain richness and tonality to it that is hard. Those are hard things to find, I think.
What does he play?
Lainey and Michaela sing together when you can,
because they're two sisters.
Yeah, and their voices sound so nice together. It's
yeah.
Which we will get to hear.
Yes. on February 26th at the Sapphire. Mary, do you want to segue to talk about 12th fret music before I ask my next question?
Sure. We brought up 12th fret earlier. And so if you are looking for gear, an amp, or really any music gear, this is one of those shops that actually takes the time to help you find something you will genuinely love playing. Their staff is super friendly, really knowledgeable, and great at helping you find an instrument that feels right without blowing your budget. And they've always got a solid mix of new, used, and vintage guitars and amps, so it's a fun place to browse, even if you're just window shopping. They're located on Capitol Boulevard next to the library and FedEx, so swing by 12th Fret Music, check them out, and support a great local music store.
There you go.
Who supports
that was the
the
best
Drummergy
part of the podcast.
Thank you.
There was a... Do you know Matt Fabi at all?
Yes.
He plays bass for Jeff Crosby.
Yeah, I don't know him.
Do you know
well,
Matt Fabi?
A little bit.
So for a while, he was the manager at Guitar Center. Sorry, 12th fret music. We have to talk about Guitar Center for a second. But so
really
back when Matt was doing that, it was right at closing, and Matt had been playing with me and Matt Pouzon in another thing. And so we were just hanging out talking and
In the drum room.
And Mary was there, but she kind of disappeared.
I was kind of off in the corner where all the little percussive things are. And like for whatever reason, that little spot, like the sound carries. Like if you say something, it's like
when you cup
it
your
shoots
speaker on your phone.
Yeah, it was really weird. And it was like a quarter till.
And you
closing.
said,
and I said something like, "Attention, Guitar Center shoppers. Our store will be closing in approximately 15 minutes. Please bring your..." And Matt goes, "What the heck?"
We were both like, Matt and I both looked at each other like, we got to get out of here. They're closing. But it was just all her doing that. It was hilarious.
I couldn't, like, when they reacted, I just started laughing because I couldn't even finish what I was saying because I didn't realize that it was so convincing.
That's funny.
All right. What still makes you nervous before a show?
Ooh.
Remembering
your lyrics.
Sometimes remembering my lyrics.
That'll be on the list.
Like, have you ever had somebody in the audience that you're like, I better not screw up?
Probably.
Like, it could be somebody famous or somebody you just really want to impress.
I remember when we were back in Berkeley doing the shows last October in Boston. It was the first show we did. And we were midway through the show, and it was in a smaller auditorium, but in the middle of a song. And I guess it's because we were so focused on making the thing happen. And I was playing a slow Texas waltz, and it dawned on me that the audience was all faculty from the Berkeley School of Music.
That'll do it.
And I almost let myself lock up and I got, well, it just treated like any other crowd. But I've had a lot of situations like that where people are in the audience, or somebody will show up to a gig downtown, that knows what the deal is, and so it's those things are a little bit. But I mean, I would say that just some of the things I've been most nervous for in my career is like filming TV show episodes where like if you mess up in front of a live audience, those types of things. And I've had things that with Asleep at the Wheel, Ray was just starting that TV show, and so we filmed 3 episodes on one day of what they were calling Ray's Roadhouse. And it was in front of a live audience, and the things I remember, there was one moment at the end of a Merle Haggard song that I was supposed to go to the front of the stage and the spotlight would just be on me. But I was playing just a simple, mournful fiddle part, right? And I just remember thinking, even 2 weeks before that, I thought, man, what if I step to the front of that and screw that up? And it's just me. It's just, and it's at the very end of the song. There were going to be opportunities to maybe have some. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that to a 9-piece band.
Yeah.
And so I had I even quit drinking coffee for 2 weeks before we did that, because I thought I've got to have an extra tool to not be nervous, because some of these things, or to get in front of it, the crowd in front of, however many thousands of people we were playing in front of at Willie's show. That was a lot of pressure, knowing it was going out live on the radio. So
sure.
every ride, no room for messed up rides or anything like that.
No editing.
Yeah. You're just gonna have to. So I would say that those are the things that make me the most nervous, or stepping out on the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh yeah, your list of things that would make you nervous, or your stage. Some of those stages are a lot bigger than anything I've had to approach, but I can.
But it's all relative, right? It's all whether it's that or something else that's just that thing that's just like it's not necessarily what you have to do; it's the situation.
Yeah,
that makes it really, really nerve-wracking.
My favorite shows are the big stages where we're doing all originals, whether it's the Knit or the Revolution or whatever it might be. Abrupt Edge got to do a few big ones. This Cliff Miller Band's got to do many shows that were focused on originals to a big crowd, and I love them. There's a little, I don't know if anxiety is not the right word, but there's always a little more.
I think it is anxiety.
Yeah, a little more nerves to go with stepping out on a stage like that, and maybe seeing how once everyone's in, the band's in and the crowd's in, then it's easy peasy. But I guess walking out on those stages where it's spotlights on you, the music's died, and you're up.
You remember when we were in Spokane opening for somebody, and we came back and played that show in McCall with
in Cascade.
Oh yeah, and I remember that for some reason, I don't know if it was like blood sugar issues or something like that, but I remember before we went out there, my legs were just feeling so unsteady. Like I was sitting down and like, God, do I need to sit here and rest? And I think it was the anxiety of it. Who was the band we were opening for?
Whitey Morgan.
Right. And so I remember that thing of, okay, I want this to come off good for Cliff, and it's an opportunity for the band to be seen. But I remember thinking, God, what if I get down there? What if I get out there and fall down? Because my legs were feeling unsteady. I was in the boots and everything like that. So I noticed when I'm wearing the boots, I walk a lot more gingerly on stage because it's the stability of it, of everything.
Yeah.
But I got nervous, not for playing that show. I got nervous for thinking, what if I walk out there and fall? Because my legs were just feeling so unsteady. Once we got going, it was okay. But something about the nerves of the anxiety that moment, I go, God, I'm going to fall down out there.
I haven't been nervous in a long time for actually playing. Although when I did that Guns N' Roses tribute show that I filled in with, I was a little bit nervous. But once the first few notes of the first song started, I wasn't nervous. And at that point, I was just kind of like
playing,
sort of in a job mode.
Yeah,
like I got hired to do this thing, and now here I am doing it. Like, but all the build up to that, I was a little bit nervous too. I get nervous more about situational things, like, do we have access to a bathroom? Or where am I going to park this time?
Yeah. Logistics.
No.
Those situational things.
And you don't fight. That never ends. It's just like, okay, am I going to be able to find a parking spot?
Yeah, the stupid stuff that has nothing to do with the actual gig itself.
Yeah, especially with drums. It's like, sometimes that could be a multiple trip thing to.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff to
get that stuff in, and then, or if I'm able to pull right up and then unload, and then I have to go find a place, and then now my gear's on the sidewalk. It's like, hopefully that's there when I come back.
This is kind of a funny one that cowboy boots have actually done away with, alleviated this stress for me. But I have this weird thing when I'm going to do, whether it's hiking, a sporting event, or being on stage, I have to have my shoes tied like really tight. So like right before we go on stage, almost every show where I wear lace up shoes or boots, I would be like retying, like with 30 seconds to get on stage. I don't know what that is, but
that's like the baseball players are like adjusting their gloves in between every swing of the bat.
It's probably from playing sports and not want to be out on a field with. But cowboy boots solved that for me.
I still double knot my shoelaces. Like I did when I was 4.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm nervous about stepping on my shoelaces. And I don't have to be anymore because slip on.
Cowboy boots done.
What risk did you take that didn't pay off, but you'd do it again?
Oh,
And so many of them.
Do you mean on stage or just
I'm wherever this question leads is fine.
business? Okay.
This is a simple little one. We did a couple of released EPs instead of singles.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed immediately that they all got listened to, but people still view those things as a single, including our own band. I'll bring up a song that hey, maybe we don't play that often. Are we going to do Call It Off? Yeah. Did we record that? I'm like, yeah, it's the third song on the EP. It's out there.
Guilty.
But I still like the idea of an album. So I would love to do a full-length album still, even though I don't know if it pays off in this single world. Yeah. So I don't know if that's where you're going with that question, but that is one that
for me, that's definitely a thing. Midline has been slowly recording new music, and there are all these singles that are starting to be out there. We're having another one coming out mid-February. And I know that if we printed vinyl, maybe a few of our friends would buy them, and then the rest of them I would store in the garage probably. But I really want one.
Yeah,
I really.
That would
really
be fun to have a record.
Want a Midline vinyl record. Cost be damned.
Lots of shows too. I mean, we've done lots of shows. Some of them pay off, some of them don't, but the trip usually is worth it.
Yeah,
we've gone to places where, maybe played to just a handful of people that really loved it, and financially it didn't necessarily make sense, but I got a cool road trip with my friends, and
yeah,
I played in this band for a while, and we had played up in Seattle a few times, and one of the trips up there, just a trip there, was kind of meh, and then the situational things around the gig were even worse, and that whole highlight of that 2 days that it took to do that was going to the spaghetti factory and having spaghetti. That's a long way to go for spaghetti.
But you do it again.
I would do it again. It ended up being really fun. So. What about you, Matthew?
Risks. Everything's a risk.
Being on this show.
I asked a girl to dance once.
Aww.
I'm not going to tell you what my dad said to say. Anyway, no, I think that everything as a musician, as an artist, there's a lot of things that even jobs I still take. Sometimes I don't know exactly how much I'm going to make. Yeah. I have a good idea. For instance, there's a workshop coming up down in Reno. I know what they're charging for the workshop. I don't know how many people are going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Although with this particular group, I have no doubt that it's going to be worth it, but I can't tell you how many times I've taken chances like that. And not real often, but sometimes you come out on the real bad end of some of that stuff. And so there's that you took that risk on that thing that looked pretty good, and boy, it didn't turn out. Or there's that thing that you took the chance on and it turned out way better than you ever expected. I think that those are the unknowns with a life in doing some of these sorts of things, mm-hmm. whether it's just regular gigs or whether it's the teaching aspect or any of that stuff. It's like when you raise your prices, it's a risk.
Yeah.
Right. And you're taking a calculated risk to say, hey, or is it, I need to do this because of my overhead or inflation or whatever like that. But there's also that trepidation of going, am I going to lose people?
Yeah, exactly.
By doing this, yeah. And so life is a risk.
I'd say one we took as a band and it panned out and it didn't pan out, or as a duo, Matt and I went out to a new market with no guaranteed gig and did, I think, 4 or 5 days of no guarantee gigs. A couple of those.
And we made decent money on it.
Yeah. And a couple of the nights that we thought were just straight up tip shows, and we thought that will be no problem in this market. We didn't. Like the worst tips we've ever had.
Uh-huh.
But at the end of that, we ended up making some contacts and breaking down a few doors that we hadn't been able to get through. Mm-hmm. And since then, that's become a great market for us.
That's a great risk that I encouraged you to take, because I've seen that show before with artists who haven't gotten their stuff out, just going into new markets and exposing your stuff, whether, it's, yeah, you can do it through social. It's a lot different taking a live act into a town and getting people to really hear it,
Yeah.
and that particular trip turned out really good.
It was a lot of fun. It was probably a
us.
break even financially weekend, but
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a little bit better than that. But I remember coming back from that thinking that it was really cool because we made some of the connections immediately while we were there, and so we like, okay, this is already, some of this stuff is already bearing fruit.
Yeah.
And then the opportunities that have come out of that, but so I look at that, and to me that is validating because we did take that risk. It turned out better, really kind of better than I could have hoped with the type of opportunities that you've had coming out of that. And it makes me want to do it in more markets.
Yeah, it's something we've talked about. It's a risk that maybe the first time didn't financially bear a ton of fruit, but in the long run was huge. We've talked about doing it since. Like, if we have a free weekend, it's a great way to get the band out there without having to travel. Like, if Matt and I can go out and do a duo show in a new market, we can travel a lot more compactly and on a lower budget and break into some new markets, and then hopefully have the band back in that market within 6 months.
Well, I think the Bart Robley is here. I think, well, the question being, what risks did you take that didn't pay off, but you would do it again? And Matt, you said, well, life is a risk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, when I get done with this, I want to talk to somebody, because if I paid it some money for this, I want some of it back.
Right? But being a musician's a risk, right?
Sure.
Being a musician's way different than, I'm assuming at least, than finding some career in some other avenue that has regular hours, a reliable, I know I'm going to make this much money every week or whatever, hourly or whatever, that comfort in that, I guess. As a musician, we don't really have that. And it doesn't always pay off, but man, I'd rather do music than anything else.
Yeah.
I'd rather just keep at that.
The thing for me is it takes, being a musician is a lot of mental exhaustion. Yeah. Whether I'm teaching or working on stuff for the Sapphire Room or whatever it is, it's always it requires this mental energy that to me is stressful. And I'm always, I've even, like I love doing yard work and painting the house and doing stuff like that because I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've never had a job where I didn't have to think about it really, and so there's a part of it that I really like go, dang, what, I think I'd really enjoy stocking shelves at Fred Meyer. Yeah. I really would. I
shelving books at the library.
It's not making $100 an hour, but it's something where I don't feel totally drained at the end of the day. It's like, for me to do as much teaching like as you're doing now, Fred, and I believe me, I've done that much. It was so I can't help but be all in, and that's one of the things. Whether it's somebody who hasn't practiced enough or somebody who's got a lot of talent and just not developing it, but I'm constantly trying to find that way to elevate them. Sometimes when they're not even trying to elevate themselves, and a day at the end of that day, it's one of those,
you're trained.
God, what am I even doing here? And so it to me, I love being a musician, and it's even when I start thinking, well, I'm not going to do so many events this year and everything, and then I start to look at this spring and go, oh my God, man, how am I going to get all this done? I had if I wanted to change the way things were going, I would have got a different job and just turned those, but they started coming in, and here I am. I'll be doing at least another year,
Well, it's something I've stepped away from before, and I always end up coming back to it. Just stressful or not, it's just kind of, it's there, and I can't not write a song. I can't not want to play my guitar. It's just part of what I've done for so long. But
I think it was 2009. The producer can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's when I kind of hit a wall with music and with Midline, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to focus on making my landscape company successful And was that 2009?
It's either 9 or 10, but around that time.
Yeah. And we supposedly played our last show, and then the amount of regret and despair and all these weird emotions hit me like the very next day. Like, this is a mistake.
What have I done?
This is a mistake that I've made, where I've, like, it was like something died, and I didn't want it to die. I thought I wanted it to die until it died, and then I was like, I don't want it. So I had to immediately start resurrecting my music.
It's just there. It's in you.
Yeah, you can't.
Well, you were also doing Cure for the Fall.
That's when that started, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. You were
Yeah.
already, I think you were already working with Jim. So
Bart says it's in our blood.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jim. And Loretta says,
Absolutely.
cannot wait for you guys on February 26th.
And Thomas
Yeah.
says sometimes it takes a little extra legwork to get where you want to be. Yeah, nothing worth having comes easy, right?
Well, we all know that. We all know that for sure. That's like being more, like for me, being more calculated in what I do now has really been helpful in all of this.
Yeah.
Does that say live 150
Where are you looking?
on the time right above your head, Cliff? On the
Yeah,
book?
150,
Okay.
8:50 right now. It's
Okay.
8:51 right now.
All right.
Has it really been 2 hours?
Yeah, we're almost there, guys.
Wow.
All right, so I guess
You know a risk I took this morning?
That's what I said. You're the risk you took to be here, right?
And would you do it again?
Yeah, you were here like two.
I already
2.5
answered
months?
your question.
Right.
I'm here. I'm here.
It's Groundhog Day. So just based off what we were just talking about, like, what does success look like now? You want to go work at Fred Meyer?
I would. You know what? I would. I love jobs like that, and would somewhere down the line, who knows? But the problem with me is I'm old enough, and I've been a part of the music worlds that I've been a part of for so long, and in some of them, in some of those worlds, I'm always going to be included on the planning for like these festivals and these workshops and stuff like that. And so no matter how much I want to quit,
Keep dragging you
they're
back
gonna
in.
it's gonna keep coming. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it would be really hard for me to have this hard stop, or whatever like that. It's just there's some of the stuff that when it comes in, it's just too neat to turn, like going back to teach again at Berkeley here in a
Pretty
couple of
awesome.
months again.
It's like in the movie
Oh, wow.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. At the beginning of the movie, he's skipping school, and he's calling his friend Cameron, who's sick.
Uh-huh.
And he convinces Cameron to get out of bed, and Cameron's sitting in his car. He's like, he'll keep calling. He'll keep
Don't
calling.
make me feel like,
And he ends up going and having the time
And
of his
wrecking his
life.
dad's Corvette.
yo,
Was it a Corvette or a Porsche?
Was it Porsche? I
it
don't
was
know.
a Ferrari.
Porsche? What's the right way?
It was a Ferrari,
It
guys.
was a Ferrari. Dang it.
Way more money.
Yeah.
I've talked about this with Bart before, several times, is like, what does success look like now? Like, I guess I could say I am successful now. I have a successful teaching business. I get to record drums for people. I get to play shows with you and with Midline. And I mean, this great group of friends, it's like, that feels pretty successful. And I'm supporting my family.
Well, that's his success.
Yeah. And so it's what I'm going to say next is not to lose sight of that. It's like, I always want the next bigger thing. Like, I want to be on the big stage in an arena playing. Like, that's an itch I still have to scratch. Like, I feel like I need to scratch that itch.
But you've been in big arenas and
I
played.
have,
a bit.
yeah. And it's like that special little musical drug to me to
You know what?
Those
I guess and for of course that year with the wheel really checked a lot of boxes for me.
Uh-huh.
Playing Willie's 50th 4th of July and playing going to Switzerland with them, and a lot of shows you know, some of the bigger ones, you know, 10,000 plus. And so, you know, maybe if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't be able to, but it's just that I literally can, you know, I am so satisfied with what I've already done that none of it really, whatever happens now is what happens.
Yeah.
You
I
played a
see.
lot of gigs. and
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
one of them.
Whatever happens, it
This
just
is one
happens,
of
you
them.
know.
Yeah.
And good things will happen and bad things will happen.
Yeah. For me, it's like I guess my goal is always I love writing music, recording music, producing music. So I guess seeing that tip in the scale of where more and more of what I'm doing live is performing music that me or my band has composed, and having that be the bread and butter of what I do musically.
Mhm.
And it's always tipping that direction. So
Yeah.
that success to me is just kind of getting to share music, because
Well, over the time you and I have played music together, I've seen this growth or this move towards being full-time musician.
Yeah.
It's like once I discovered I could do it, and then I see some people around me doing it too. It's like, yeah, this can work, but you
Yeah.
have to be kind of calculated in how you do it and get around the right people that can tell you how to do it.
Well, it's worked for me since I was about 16 years
Yeah.
old. The only time I really had a real job was in a furniture warehouse when I was about 16 or 17, but Foster's Furniture downtown in Boise when we moved here. But other than that, I've always been self-employed, and I had my music store for years.
Mhm.
But it's always, you know, it's always been that. So I don't know if I'd ever know anything different.
Yeah.
If
pretty
that
awesome.
makes any sense. You
Just
know,
like
there's-
Bart said, it's in our blood.
Yeah.
It's in our blood. So just a quick reminder, this February 26th at the Sapphire Room,
That's right.
Cliff Miller. You can see Cliff and myself and Matt here and Michaela Ruggs.
And Laney.
And Laney's going to be joining us, and it's going to be a great
Alf
show.
Deverona.
Oh, Alf
Deverona.
Deverona. How can I
That's
forget
going to be
Alf? Wow.
yeah, that's going to be a show to see. I don't know if there's a ticket link posted. I'm going to try and post a link in the comments if I can. But
I posted it at the top, but it doesn't turn it into a link, so you'd have to like copy paste it. But then there's a comment on it that takes it to your page, so you can find it on.
or you can just go to the
page too.
Sapphire's website, or I think it's on
Yeah.
our Facebook as well.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
music
I
Facebook.
link. I have a link for your Facebook page, and
That
you have
show
that
is-
event pinned.
Can I toot that show just a little
Yeah.
bit harder? That to me is, like I said, one of the most fun shows of the year. We're playing. You're gonna hear some new originals. You'll hear some surprises that you wouldn't hear at a normal show. And most of what we're going to do that night is either songs we wrote or with a handful of covers that we either really love to play or possibly recorded already. I
or
look
we
forward to
think
this.
people might want to hear them.
yeah.
They're a captive audience.
Yeah. Hey, you're there already, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like it because it's an original heavy night, and like Matt had said, like if we're gonna play stuff, I prefer to play the originals.
and the sound is awesome in that
Yeah.
room. It's
Yeah.
just a good
Yeah.
vibe. It's one I look forward to every year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And Loretta put all the clapping hands, and Rick Oliver said, I'll see you guys there. We appreciate you guys hanging out. Guys, thanks again for being on the show
Yeah, thanks for having me.
and trying to get a little deeper discussion on some of these things. I think that was a good
It
deal.
was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody have a great day. I will see you here next week. I don't know what we're talking about yet, but we'll figure something out. And thanks for hanging out. We'll see you later.
Alrighty.